Today is Holy Saturday, and this evening we'll celebrate the Vigil of Easter Sunday, the last part of the Triduum. If you've kind of wondered why and how the 3 days things fits in and how the Easter Sunday bit ends on Saturday evening bit, it can get a bit confusing. It's all to do with the way in which the days are counted in the Jewish faith. Let's not forget Jesus was Jewish. Of course, in Genesis, it starts with darkness and then moves to light. So in the Jewish faith, the day starts at sunset, and unlike us, where the day starts at sunrise, it then goes all the way through to the following sunset, which is why at sunset on Saturday, it's kind of Easter Sunday. If you're still with me, I'll tell you why that's important, because on the Saturday evening, we have what's called the Easter Vigil. And the Easter Vigil is the biggest, most incredible, most beautiful, most complicated, most kind of elaborate liturgy that we have, because it's the biggest deal of the whole year. Bigger than Christmas, right? And so today we're going to think about some of those key aspects in the liturgy, why we do what we do, and of course what it means for us in terms of making sense of our world today. So today, Holy Saturday, and then Easter Sunday, they're really important parts of the story. I don't want to skip over Holy Saturday either, because Holy Saturday is often seen as a bit of a nothing day. It's kind of because nothing really happened. You've got all the events of the arrest and Jesus' death on Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and then there's this period of waiting, of hoping, of expecting something to happen. I wonder, and you do see this in the scripture, how many of the disciples actually expected something to happen, or how many had just thought, well, there's no hope here. All is lost. Despite everything Jesus has told us, it's all over. I think all of us feel like that sometimes. We look at our world and we look at the situations and think, well, all is lost. How can any of this get any better? And you know what? If we're trying to make sense of what we see on our news and see on our doorsteps right now, that could be quite an easy thing to think. How can we look at war and violence, or at suffering, or at poverty, or at homelessness, and think, how can things get better? That's a really difficult thing. And yet, on Holy Saturday, we always have in the back of the mind the hope and joy of the resurrection that is to come. That darkness leads to light. Today we're called to be the light, and in fact in the liturgy it will be filled with light itself, but that light means nothing if we don't go out and be that light ourselves. So today we're going to think about what happens in that Easter Vigil liturgy. I love it, it's my fave, because it starts with some really dramatic stuff. It starts with a massive fire, usually outside, usually in the darkness of night. It's a reminder of that kind of first light, and that flame and that fire is blessed, and the Paschal candle is lit, and we begin a new kind of life of a new start in the church, a new season in the church. Often that flame is brought into the church, and everyone will light the church up with candles. It's man alive. It's so powerful to see that dark church just lit up with each and every single candle light. And it's a huge reminder that each and every one of us shining our light lights up the darkest of places. We then sing the Exultet. We think about God's promises to us. We have scripture where we understand God's story and how our relationship with Him has evolved. And then we go into Mass and we sing our Gloria for the first time, our Gospel acclamation. It's amazing, just kind of builds and builds and builds. We renew our baptismal promises. We get that bit where the priest goes around and kind of sprinkles water on everybody. Often those people who are being baptized or confirmed, they are received into the church at that moment. We literally throw everything at this liturgy, because there's nothing more important than Christ's victory over death. It's a reminder that God's love is more powerful than the worst fear. That love and compassion and mercy will always overcome fear and darkness and suffering. And it's the hope that we need more than ever right now. We need to be hopeful. We need to be joyful. And what I love is by the end of the celebration, we've gone from this dark, somber, kind of really reflective 3 days into this joyful, upbeat party. The whole of Eastertide is party season in the church. We should be absolutely just partying all the time, because it's the best news that we are loved and that hope and joy is coming. So, as difficult as it might be, how can we bring joy? Pope Francis has a great way of understanding what joy is, by the way, because I think we just throw around the word joy. He says that happiness is like a puddle, but that joy is like the ocean. Happiness comes and goes. Happiness is what we get when we eat a chocolate bar. Oh, great, and then we forget about it. That's why we kind of give up that stuff for Lent, because happiness is fleeting and temporary. But the joy of the resurrection is like the ocean. Deep and powerful and strong. It moves, it changes, it brings things into life. And that is what we're called to think about today. What are the moments of joy in your life? How do you hold on to them? And how do you create those moments of joy for other people? Because in a world where there is suffering and fear, joy is the antidote. Joy is the way in which we show what life is all about and what is important. It's the way in which we can keep ourselves balanced and keep perspective and to keep hopeful. What's been amazing is for every image of suffering that we have seen, and we have seen many, we're starting now to see images of compassion and joy. Families reunited, people escaping war-torn countries to be welcomed into homes of strangers who've opened their hearts and their lives out of love and compassion. That is joy. That's not some fleeting happiness. And that is what Easter is all about, the joy of the resurrection. That from darkness comes light. So how can we be the light? How can we light up the darkness of our world? Well, that's on you, that's on me, that's on all of us. As we said in the last couple of days, our faith is a doing faith. And whilst we are definitely going to be eating lots of Easter eggs and doing lots of nice things and having big meals with our families, we're called to do a lot more. To love, to serve, to make sacrifices, and to be the light, and to share the joy of the resurrection with a world that needs it more than ever. Happy Easter.